Hey everybody, it's Stephanie with the Learning Project. You guys, I am so excited about today because one, we have a very special guest. Her name is Janelle. Leo, she has been on Facebook. You guys, I've been stalking her. I ain't gonna lie. She's been putting all these great stories about things that she's doing in her community with women. And I was like, you know what? I need you to come. If you can, that'd be great. And so I am so happy that you were here. Thank you so much for taking this time to talk about how you're supporting people in your community and really answering some questions that can help relieve a lot of women that have gone through birth. And what does that look like? And what can we do? And I've been focusing a lot, you guys, on that postpartum stage. You know, I just had my baby and she's here, but I've been experiencing so many different things. And I just feel like that real-time conversation, peer support is huge. And so I just want to welcome you, Janelle, to our podcast, you guys. If you have not, you guys sit back, relax, listen to this great podcast, take notes if you need to. As you're listening to this, if you think of somebody that comes to mind and you're like, oh my goodness, they need to hear this, don't be greedy, send the podcast, okay? And share. So welcome, Janelle. Thank you so much for being here. So
thank you so much. The pleasure is mine, really.
Well, tell us a little bit about you and what are you doing to support people in your community?
Well, hi everyone. First of all, I am a certified postpartum doula. I'm also certified as a fertility and birth doula and a belly binding practitioner and a traditional postpartum doula. And the traditional part is really geared towards the Moroccan postpartum medicine. So I'm actually trained by a Moroccan midwife who teaches how to care for new moms the way they do in Morocco. So that includes the Hamam herbal bath, the belly binding, warm meals, foot baths, herbal foot rubs, the closing of the bone ceremonies, and just really giving the mom a chance to be nourished and nurtured and loved on after having a baby, because you do so much work during pregnancy and birth. And when the baby comes, everyone's like, are you sleeping? Is the baby sleeping? Are you breastfeeding? Is everything okay? And that's really it. And those who see what needs to be done, they'll bring food or, they'll help clean the house and stuff like that. And while that is needed, the mom needs nurturing too, because she's a brand new person, no matter how many kids you have. So that gives me a chance to love on the new moms. And that's like my favorite thing to do. While I attend some births, I love it, but it's really hard on my body in particular. A lot of doulas or people in birth work have backup doulas and stuff like that. But my experience attending births, it's impossible for me to do that.
I bet.
Yeah, I can't, be in the trenches with you for like 2 days and then say, I'm kind of tired now. I'm going to tag someone else in, it doesn't flow that way for me. And then for the mom who's been with me for the 2 days and we've been through it, she now has to get used to someone else. And that could possibly stall labor as well, because she has to get used to that person. And sometimes it's the first time or second time meeting that new person. So with me being adverse for very long times and consuming all of the estrogen and other hormones that the mom is emitting during labor, that throws off my hormonal balance. And
really? I did not know this.
Yes, because usually I'm the only other female in their room at every second during birth. So whatever she's emitting, I'm soaking up and I get thrown off. So it takes me like a good month and a half to really get things, back to normal. And that's a lot of strain on my body. And I can't really support the families that I serve the best that I can with that repair. So I do like maybe 4 births a year max now because of that. And because it takes so long for me to recover and to be fully present for the families that I serve. So I kind of stay away from that. But postpartum is like my favorite thing to do. So the way I serve the moms in my community, I mainly, when I speak with them, most of them either give me stories of postpartum depression or not having family who's close, or they're like, I see the stuff that you do. I really want to experience that. And when I go into detail about how it can help them and how it is beneficial for the recovery, they're like, yes, I want it, whatever it is, I need to have this.
Yeah.
Or some people who are from the Middle East or Africa or India, they're like, oh my gosh, you did the same thing in my country. It was very similar. I can't believe that someone is actually doing this. Is this location too far for you? And I'm like, no, I'll get there. And I actually have a client now who's from India. She had her first baby last year during the pandemic, and it's only her and her husband. So the things that she wouldn't have gotten at home, or if her mom was able to come, she wasn't able to get that. And her husband did his best, but it wasn't the same,
No.
And now this time around, she was happy that the same spices that I used to cook for the healing of the womb postpartum and the oils that I infused for the healing, she said, oh, you don't even send me anymore. This is exactly what we do in India. It's fine. Like, I can't wait to, she's due in November. So I see how important it is for people who understand the cultural aspect of it. And who have knowledge of the benefits of those rituals, but also Black women who have had children before or have seen friends, families, or even people on TV suffer from just the neglect. And they said, you know what? I don't want to deal with that. I want to do my best to take care of me after having a baby. I even have some clients who said, I didn't even get a maternity shoot. I didn't do any baby shower. I saved up all my money for me to do this thing.
Wow.
And that's all I want. Like, that's what I envisioned my entire pregnancy. And this is like, I saved up this money just so I can do this, because all of this other stuff that I will spend money on, it's not going to really do anything for me. It's going to be one day, and then I still have to clean up. And then it's over. But then postpartum is such a long time. And you never really know what that experience was going to be like unless you prepare for it. So
absolutely.
Besides offering the services, I really like to emphasize the importance of planning for the postpartum, because it's cliche, so to speak, but it really does take a village. And even if you don't have family who's near you, they can still support you by helping to fund the things that you need. You will need someone to come and clean for you. You will need someone to drop groceries, even if it's like delivery. You'll need some nourishing meals. You can't eat Chick-fil-A every week, And if you're not well nourished, how are you going to really nourish your baby through breast milk? So
exactly.
All of those things that people say, oh, well, and even the husbands who are very ambitious, they'll say, oh yeah, I got it. I'm ready. Especially if it's the first baby, I got it, babe. When I come from work, I'll do this and that. And it's like, sir, you're going to be tired. You might be up all night while your wife is really tired and you have to wake up and go to work. And then when you come home, you might want to do absolutely nothing, but you have a brand new baby and a very tired wife who needs you to tap in. So that shouldn't be your responsibility. So I make it my duty to really serve the whole family and not just the mom, because I can see how much the dads go through as well. And I make them part of that nurturing as well. So when I cook for the family. If they're kids, sometimes kids are, oh, mom, that smells good. And she's like, no, you guys can have my food. Janelle's coming to cook for me. Like, you have food there, but they usually want the food. So now I make it a thing in my packages to cook for the family, because the kids, the dad wants to come home and she shouldn't be at that stove cooking anything for anybody. So at least when he comes home, all they have to do is heat up the food and eat, and they can have a meal together. So I make nutrients dense meals that's specifically geared towards healing the womb. So I use specific herbs and spices from Morocco and partly from Southern American tradition. So some of the spices that the slaves used to use after having babies in the South, I was actually taught from a Southern midwife what they used to use. So it's geared towards It's geared towards Black women specifically.
We got to put a pin in this for a second, because I'm like, if you guys aren't watching the video, I'm like about to lose my mind over here, because let me tell you. So my doula gave me the book, The Fourth Trimester by Kimberly Johnston. And I really struggled with letting people care for me. So I felt like that for this first, my baby is going on 3 months. The first 3 months here, I have not, like, my doula has been coming in and talking to me and trying to get me to like, let that guard down, help. Let me accept help. And I had a C-section. So I ended up having a C-section after 30 plus hours of labor. And, I was just so determined not to have a C-section. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to push through. And my baby's heart rate dropped. So they were like, we have to do something here. So anyways, make a long story short, we ended up, having their little one, and everybody was like, hey, can we bring you a meal? Hey, can we bring you, can we come to your house to clean? Can we do these different things? I was refusing all of this. And when I was reading this book, I started mourning the first part of my, after having my
recovery.
Yes, because I just feel like, one, as a Black woman, and I think Black women and women that have a very strong personality are very much like, I don't need your help. I'm a super mom. I'm a super woman. And it's so toxic. This is probably the first time I really realized how toxic that mentality was. And my mom had to get to the point where she was like, Stephanie, I'm right down the street. I am absolutely going to come to your house and clean, period. So she would come in the morning, clean. But when I was reading this book, it was talking about the soups and the oils and just all of the things that you should be doing, really bonding with that baby, focusing on your healing and resting. And those three things are like the hardest thing to do. So for those that
I think
you may identify with it.
I think part of it too is overcoming yourself. And I think that in many different aspects of our life, we have to overcome ourselves and our own idea of what is supposed to happen.
Wow.
And allow yourself to experience life. Because when you really think about it, when you accept that help and you overcome your own thoughts, you allow yourself to have memories that you wouldn't have had if you had rejected that help.
Wow.
So in a situation, like, let's just say for yours, right?
Yeah.
All those people who said, let me drop this off, or do you need anything? Can I, let me come over and do this and that for you? You would have had those memories. And even now, 3 months past that time, you'd be like, you know what? Thank you so much for being there for me. Thank you for that help was needed. Thank you for doing that for me. And you see how the village and the community of postpartum will really help and be beneficial to your recovery, because it's less things for you to worry about. It helps them to feel part of the situation. And it's even stories too, to tell your daughter, like, your aunt was there, or, my friend came over and this and that. Like, she now gets to understand what a village and being part of a village, taking care of a child and a new family is like. So we rob ourselves of that opportunity, one, because of the way society is structured now and the experiences that some Black people have had in this country and other countries, where, you're kind of hard. You want to do everything yourself. You don't want to have that sense of community. And because of, I guess, this is very new for me. What's new is that learning a lot of things about Black people in America is new for me, since I'm from St. Lucia. And some of the things that Black Americans have experienced, I haven't. I have partially, but not to the extent that some people have and their ancestors had. So, of course, my family struggled as well. But the things that we hold on to, the things of our past and the things that of our ancestors' past that we hold on to is now preventing us from experiencing life the way we should.
Wow.
We inherit a lot of trauma. We inherit habits. We inherit the experiences that are bad from our past. But why are we not continuing to have that village support? That's what the slaves did. They had that community support, and we don't even, why did we forget that? But we hold on to the trauma. Why are we holding on to that and not the community? Why are we holding on to you know, the bad foods and not the herbal aspect of it? Why are we not holding on to herbal medicine? Why are we not holding on to calling down the people down the street and saying, hey, you know, I'm having a baby, you know, if anything, can you just come in and check on me? Can you, you know, break my yard or something? Do something for me, because that's what it was. And they had nothing, but they had that. But now we're holding on to the negative experiences that they had and not the good things. So all of that to say, we need to allow each other to experience, we need to allow ourselves to experience life and allow other people to experience have their own experience with the life that we're sharing. Because with that, I mean, let's, you know, you and your husband, you know, he had a baby too. And there are things that you may expect from him or expect him to do or react, but you have to allow him to have his own experience in this event. While you have expectations, he may say, you know what, I realized this was great. This was easier than I thought, or this is really hard. And you have to be okay with that. But we don't allow each other to experience life, especially when we're going through it together. It's like, I don't feel that way. Why do you feel that way? And it just, it causes a lot of unnecessary friction because we're selfish in that way and we need to overcome ourselves. So it's a lot, but I feel like the more we spend time to heal things about ourselves and the things that trigger us and the things that interfere with our life experiences, we'll be able to have more compassion for ourselves and each other. So,
oh my goodness, girl, this, y'all, I don't know who needed to hear this today. I don't know where you went, but let me tell you, share this, because this is so healing for so many people. We constantly talk about like why the Black community can't come together. Where are our roots? Where is our culture? And this is for some areas. Some areas, they have a very strong culture. It's very connected, but there's some of these areas, such as my area, it's very hard to connect as Black people. And we have a lot of Black people leaving because they don't feel connected. And I mean, the birthing process to me is such a sacred space, and you have an opportunity to share it with people that you love and you want to connect with. I think that's huge, and that's so important. And you said something that I want us to not forget, that you were talking about this experience with the spouse, you know, with your person. And, you know, that was something that I continue to talk about, which is infertility brings on a whole different level of disconnect. Because you are working so hard to have a baby. You are focusing on food, you're focusing on intercourse, you're focusing on all these different things. And once you get pregnant, it's like a sigh of relief. But let me tell you, it takes a long time for that adjustment period to happen. And if you don't have a very vocal husband or spouse, it can be difficult. And that's what I found, like with my husband and I, when we were going through all of our things with our doula, we had got to a point where we like realized like physical touch for us was really difficult, because it was something that, you know, was mandatory, you know, because of the situation that we were going through. And we took maternity pictures, and we also did, you know, these different massages. He did them on me, and then I was able to do them for him as well. And it just really built this bond that's really different for us. And we were actually talking about it a while ago. And it's something that I think when you don't go through that, you don't understand, but just that piece of intimacy is gone, and it's so hard, and it can be really difficult. And you don't even realize when you go through birth how much more intimate that it becomes. And it's it's just like a whole bowl of craziness. But one of the things I really would love for you to talk a little bit about, or three things, are the soups, the oils, and the meals. Can you talk to me a little bit about this? Because I read this in this book. I literally felt like crying because I'm like, I didn't drink any warm soups. I'm out here getting out the shower and not staying warm. I'm not wrapping my belly. I'm just like out here, as I said, out here in these streets, just doing whatever. You know, I was being super picky about my meals. So I started going to shakes, which were cold. And I mean, I'm like, yes, I know.
That's
literally, yes, literally when I read this, my doula was like, oh my gosh, we need, because she does more of just the piece of
birth.
Birth doesn't do postpartum. So she was talking about this. She was like, Stephanie, she was like, we got to revamp everything. We got to do
start from zero.
Yes. So tell me, subscribe, tell me, and even the baths, if you could also talk
I'll go through the entire ceremony to give you a visual of what my clients expect. So when I walk in, it's mom time. So I usually do this at a time where there is dad or grandma or someone able to watch the kids, and she's maybe pumped milk or fed the baby right when I get there. That way she's not interrupted in the process, because newborns feed pretty quickly. And if they're cluster feeding at that time, we might need to be interrupted maybe once, and that's okay. But I really want this time to be about her and not really her having to say, you know, kids, can you keep it down? Or, you know, stuff like that if she has multiple children. So that's one. We have to make sure that someone's there to take care of the baby and other kids. We start off with the bath. So a lot of people, as you can imagine, Black women and anyone who's had a baby, you kind of have some insecurities about your body. And then you have this person that you don't really know that well, you know, seeing you naked in your home. But for some people who are like, okay, I get it, whatever. Or if I was at the birth, it's like, you've seen this before. When I come in, they already have their robe on, they're ready. But for some people, it's really hard to convince them of the benefits of it. And they say, oh, I'll do everything else but the bath. And I get that, but we have to get past that, because it's not about that anymore. It's about you healing. So the Hamam is the type of bath, a type of Moroccan bath. They do it in Turkey as well. But the word Hamam also means a house or a building where people bathe each other. So if you go to Turkey and you go to Morocco, there are those places where they're old women or men or whatever, you lay on these rocks and they like vigorously scrub your body down and bathe you. So that's what the Hamam is. But for postpartum, they use specific oil, clays and scrubs and soaps. It's like a 3-step process to detox the body, to relax the muscles, because after, you know, being in labor for so long and contractions, some people they hold tension in their shoulders or in their back and their arms. When you have a contraction, you're going like this. So all that tensing up every couple seconds for 30 hours, it builds up. So the bath is very warm. The clays and the soaps are very healing to help relax those muscles, and it kind of gets you ready for the rest of the ceremony. And when you have a baby, your body is open, right? It's very open, it's very vulnerable, and you've lost a lot of heat by opening your womb to allow your baby to be born earthside. With that, your body automatically goes into a cold state when you have your baby. That's why you shouldn't ingest any cold drinks and foods, because you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable situation to be affected by inflammation in your womb, and even cold. Like, your womb can trap coldness, and that also contributes to infertility in the future. So it can store itself there, and then if you don't get that work done, you're wondering why you're not getting pregnant. Is because your womb is not warm enough to host a baby, a zygote. So it causes issues in the long run if you don't take care of that. So the way we care for ourselves postpartum is very essential to the rest of our lives as women. So the Hamam is the first reintroduction to heat to the womb and to the body after birth. After the Hamam, mom's head is wrapped. She has a robe on. She has socks. I dry her up. She has socks. And the room that she's transferred to is automatically warm. with heat, candles, everything else. So following the bath, we do a womb steam session. So we do, the yoni steams, which is very popular now, but it's not really, because people have been doing that forever. But I have them to experience an at-home womb steam session with herbs that are specifically geared towards pulling out any stagnant blood and fluid in the womb. So those herbs are called amenagogues. They're very good for anyone who has irregular periods, for postpartum. So if you have clots and remaining blood from your birth, it helps to pull that out, and you'll tend to bleed a little bit more after the womb steam, but you'll realize that you won't bleed for several weeks like most women, but after the first couple of days, you're done, because the herbs help to pull that out. The herb mixture also has properties that help to heal any uterine scars, any tearing of the skin, the sore muscles around the perineum, from stretching and your legs being open for God knows how many hours. So all the herbs, it's a mixture that helps to really target that area and to help just relax those muscles, heal the skin, help to tone the uterus as it's shrinking back into space. And it really, again, introduces heat to the womb. So that's your second introduction to heat into the womb. During that time, she's still all bundled up, and during the womb steam, she served a spiced tea. So it can have anything from cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, turmeric, star anise, cloves, all of the warming spices. Depending on the day, I'll make a certain mixture. So she served the tea and dates and nuts.
Wow.
So while she's doing that, I'll start preparing the meal. And I'll come check on her once the water starts to get cool. Instead of wasting it, we turn that herbal water into an herbal foot bath. So I transfer the water into a different bowl, and she soaks her feet into that bath, and I add Himalayan salt and other healing salt for that. And whatever. So when I infuse oils, the herbs that's left over, I use it as a scrub for exfoliation. So I save that to exfoliate her legs and just give it like a nice little foot scrub. And once the herbal foot soak is done, I give her a leg massage, foot massage, to just help relax any tension that may have built up, because we don't realize so many parts of our bodies are connected to our womb, especially your feet. Especially your feet. Like when you're walking up and down the house and holding baby and walking from this place, all of that is traveling up your womb. Traveling up and traveling up. And when you're when you're vulnerable like that and you're open, you need to take time to release that. So when they're sitting down, I can feel like knots sometimes in their calf muscles or even in the front, just helping to get rid of that. And I put the socks back on. So after the womb steam and the herbal foot bath and foot rub, we do the closing ceremony. So the closing is a lot of people's favorites. I mean, everyone likes everything, but the closing is really special because it's very special and sacred, and it's very unique to Moroccan culture. So not many people do it. But it symbolizes so many different things. So for one, it symbolizes the closing of your baby's first home, which is your body, right? As you're closing your body, you're closing your baby's first home. And, once you're pregnant and then you go through birth and then you're like, oh, wait, I'm not pregnant anymore. And you don't. So
through that. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And it happened so quickly, right? Even if labor was 30 hours for you, it's like, I was just bumping around. And now I have this baby. You don't get a chance. You don't get a chance to soak it in. So that time when they're laying on the floor and because you have to be in a certain mental state for it to emotionally be effective for you. You're saying to yourself, okay, wow, I did it. I had my baby. This, the pregnancy journey has now been completed. My birth phase has now been completed. I'm closing those chapters. I'm literally closing those chapters and now celebrating my postpartum period. So
Oh,
it gives them a chance to really say, okay, I did it. I made it
yeah.
through, and it's closed, it's finished. And now I can embrace what comes with postpartum, and I need to be ready. And this is me allowing myself to be ready. So
Oh
as they're
my
laying
goodness.
down and I'm closing, it allows them to mentally get into that state and have a chance to do that, because once you're home with the baby, you're just
Yep.
focusing on feeding, changing, cleaning,
Yep.
sleeping. That's it. You
Yep.
don't get a chance to mentally do that.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. I just,
yeah.
everybody that's listening, creating that space that you just talked about is so crucial. Like, I think that so many people, they come from having that traumatic experience of having a baby and your body being changed. Like the day before I had my baby, I was doing the electric slide. I was all excited. Like, I loved being pregnant, and I was just
Mm-hmm.
so excited at that point in the chapter of my what is it called?
Motherhood journey.
Motherhood journey. Yes. I was super excited. And as you guys can see, when I'm like, blah, 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 I'm still got my mom brain a little bit here. So I'm still working through those hormones. But let me tell you, I literally remember like being so happy here, feeling her kick, feeling that closeness, to just like being completely, my stomach's deflated. I'm like, who is this baby? I don't know her. I was literally in my room, y'all, crying because I didn't like her name. I liked her first name, Julia, but she has a long name. It's like a little legacy name. So I was like, I messed up her name and she's gonna be like, it was just out of control, like for like just like a few hours. But I just felt like that, you said it so perfectly. I felt like I had no closure. I felt like, oh, you're this, and it kind of sets this trajectory of you having to be going from place to place to place to place, going fast to fast to fast. Everything needs to
Mm-hmm.
keep going. There's no stopping in between, and there's no rest. There's
We
no
don't have
rest.
to
There's
live
no
like that.
reflection. No,
We don't have to
no,
live like that.
no. Oh my goodness, this is so good for me and my soul, y'all. And I don't know if anybody else, just really taking that time to reflect on what your journey looked like, and
Mm-hmm.
really being able to see where you can even make up some of that, and then being able to kind of get to a resolution of that, and then also being able to feel like I can give something to someone else when they go through the labor and delivery process.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very beautiful, especially there's a moment in the closing as I'm going through, and I pray during that time, because it's kind of a long process. I am praying for them during that
Wow.
time. And I always tell them, this is the time for you to close out any chapters in your motherhood journey so far that's going to halt you from experiencing your postpartum journey. Because there are things that you need to mourn that we don't really give ourselves a space to do.
Oh,
So someone may have wanted a natural birth at home and all the things, and then
yep.
you end up having a C-section, but you don't mourn that
Yep.
time. You don't
Yep.
mourn that experience. And then,
Yep.
when you're alone, you get the flashbacks. You get the flashbacks of
Mhm.
them telling you when to do a C-section, your baby's heart is going down, and you don't give yourself a chance to close. It's over.
Yeah.
It's done. We can't go back. We can't
Yeah.
change it. Give your chance. It's okay. You have to mourn this because it's something
Mhm.
that you wanted that you didn't get, and you can't get it back for that experience. So this is your chance to mourn that and to close it and say, you know what, it's okay.
Yeah.
We made it out, and this was the best thing for me and my baby at the time. And she's fine. I'm okay. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this experience with her and with my recovery. And I'm not going to allow this to make me angry and miserable, because if you're not okay mentally or physically or emotionally, you can't be there for your child. So this is the
Uh,
time to do that. This is the time to say, during pregnancy, I didn't have my family around, or we were fighting a lot or whatever, but you
yeah.
know what? It's closed.
Right.
It's done. Let's move
Right.
forward. This is the chance where you mentally get yourself there, and you have a chance to even mourn your past life. So people who
Yeah.
that's your first baby, you can't really go out with your girlfriends the way you wanted to
Yeah.
before you have someone to watch your child.
Yes.
You want to mourn your past life. Like,
Yeah.
you were a person before you had that kid, and
Oh.
a lot of women don't get a chance to mourn who they were before they had a child.
Oh
So
my goodness.
it's a really important time for them to have closure with lots of things that's going on that should be important to them to help them with complete recovery.
Yeah.
And there comes a moment in between in the session where you can see the body depress into the ground.
Yeah.
Like they literally become one with the floor. And I can tell that, okay, they're letting go. They're relaxing, they're submitting.
Yeah.
And even if that might be physically, because some moms, no matter how many times I tell them, you shouldn't be doing this and that, you should just be resting and laying down. They want to do all the things, the laundry, the cooking, the whatever.
Yeah.
But her body's begging to rest. So when she lays on that floor, she's done. Her body's like, okay, this is the time. I'm going to take advantage of this. She's not going to move. This is it. So their body's just depressed into the ground. And they feel that sense of rest and closure and recovery. So it's from head to toe. You know, I close the head, we close the shoulders, we close the bosom, the belly. I do a lot of waist work because the closing actually helps to release any stagnation in the hips and in the lower back. And then I close the legs, then the ankles, then I do another foot rub. When you pound under the feet at the ending of the closing, it helps to then stabilize that connection from the feet to your womb. Yeah, so we do that. So now once I'm done, I close feet, belly, and then head, and I kind of leave them in that state if they want to remain. Or I just unbind them, but they usually just stay and continue getting rest or just have that time alone. To just be in their thoughts, you know, without the baby crying, without having to feed, without having to do anything. So I really love that time because they get to just have a moment to themselves after birth, because things go by so fast. And they feel responsible for so much without a lot of help. So during that time, it's very special to them to just, you know, kind of get their thoughts together and embrace the postpartum period. So following that, I finish the meal. The meals are usually, I mainly cook plant-based meals because that's how I eat. If they want like chicken or something, I'll have that pre-cooked because I'm not going to feed anyone something that I'm not eating. But if they want it, I mean, sure. So it will be pre-cooked, but I usually make like, you know, vegan shepherd's pies with like lentils or barbecue chickpeas, curry chickpeas, chana masala, lentil stews, vegetable soups, the Moroccan harira soups. I make vegan burgers towards the end because it's something quick that they can just put on the skillet once our sessions are over at the end of the month. They can have like 20 burgers in the freezer that they can easily just pop in if they need something to eat. But most of it it's packed with like rosemary and sage and turmeric and oregano and all of the spices that I was taught, because a lot of the not recipes, but the spices that I use, they come from the Kabbalias or the Moroccan midwives that serve women in Morocco. So they know what to use that's going to bring heat and maintain heat in the womb during the healing process. Because some different herbs have different properties and actions, and some you know, bring warmth. Others are cooling, like marshmallow leaf is cooling. You don't want to drink that because it's cooling. You don't want to drink anything that's going to bring coolness to your womb. So most of the herbs, if not all of them, do that. So with the food, I cook for the week so that they have enough food for the week for their family. So husband comes from work, he has something good to eat. The children, they're always in the mix. So I'll help them, like, you know, cut some of the vegetables or something, and they have their own little portion. But I bring containers for the moms to have for the week so that they're not messing with her food and she's not running out. So every week I make a fresh set of meals, batch meals for the mom so she has meals for 4 weeks.
Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And
So
that's a huge thing. Like, even I found, like, me trying to get my meals together, I struggled with that because I was like, okay, if I get this meal or get this meal, I'll be fine. As long as I eat, I'm fine. But like, really, you have to be just as calculated as you were when you were pregnant to your postpartum care that you, I didn't realize, you guys, when I was reading this book, I realized that some of our illnesses that we actually have way later on are actually from postpartum.
Postpartum, yeah. Hip replacement, hip
Oh,
instability, even fibroids,
yeah.
even eyesight too.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of stuff. Osteoporosis, like all kinds of things stem from us not being fully healed postpartum. And then you go to work after 6 weeks.
Yep.
And then, you know, you were home and smoothies are the new thing now. And you drinking CMOS smoothies and you're like, you know, I'm fine. And then you go to work and your womb is looking like, I have been abused this whole time.
What are you
and
doing?
You're drinking, yeah, and you're drinking the bladder rack and everything else. Those things are good.
Yeah.
However, that's not what you need right now. If you want to eat sea moss, mix it in a soup.
Yeah.
Mix it in something that's warming and hot in your body. It can be 100 degrees outside. I've had clients all the summer. And when I leave, they have thick socks on, a head wrap, and a robe, and they're comfy. And the husband's looking like, why are you all bundled up? It's 100 degrees outside. But they don't realize it. When I come in, they have a tank top on. By the time I leave, they have a robe on in socks because they don't realize how much their body has been needing the heat until I get there and I start doing all the things. You know, and they're like, oh, this feels so good. I'm like, yeah, when I came in, you had a tank top on. And you thought you were cute because it's hot outside. It's summertime. No, you need to be bundled up.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're going to delay, you're literally slowing down the healing process by not giving your body heat.
Yeah. And I didn't realize how powerful that process and making sure you keep the heat in your body. So when I was going through all my infertility stuff, I started reading about like a lot of Chinese medicine, and they were talking about the heat. And they're talking about, you know, if you have cold feet, cold hands, your uterus most likely is going to be cold. So you need to warm up your body. And I always had cold hands and cold feet ever since I was very young. And we don't even think about like, okay, when our teenage girls are saying like, hey, I'm freezing or I'm this, like, we're not even thinking about how fertility is playing a huge part in their life right then and there, even though they're not trying to get pregnant. But you have got to teach them how to actually manage and develop and care for their body. Because women are 30 and 40 years, I'm 36 years old, and I'm like sitting here reading this and I'm like, okay, why did we not learn this in sex ed? Why we're so focused on putting on a condom that we forgot all these other things, like, hey, let's keep your body warm, and the importance of that and what's going on with your body and how do you push out different illnesses. It's crazy.
There is a very big gap in the education surrounding women's health and women's fertility. And the moment you mention fertility, people automatically think infertility.
Yes.
And they automatically think pregnancy.
Yeah.
And even now, like when I tell people how much, you know, people ask and I say, you know, I'm not doing that many births because of my fertility. Why are we trying to get pregnant? No, I'm trying to have like 4 more hot girl summers, but then I'll get pregnant. But it's not that. If my fertility is off, I'm not healthy. If I'm not ovulating, I'm not healthy. If I have a short luteal phase, I am not healthy. How can I just let this continue and go on and not do anything about it because I'm bleeding every month? That bleeding time is not necessarily a healthy bleed. It's a shedding of the lining, but it doesn't mean anything if I'm not ovulating. So I don't understand how people are not connected to their bodies in this way, because you alone can know this. An app cannot tell you when you ovulate. A doctor cannot tell you, oh, you're having irregular periods. Here's this pill that will regulate your period.
That's the first thing they want to give you.
That's how it started off before in the very beginning, and that has not been reformed. This is not a solution. It's a Band-Aid. Because when you have a pill as a 15-year-old child, to regulate your period when your hormones aren't even balanced all the way yet into maturity to have like a regular period.
Yeah.
And you're taking something to suppress your natural hormones and you're getting synthetic hormones to bleed every month, but you're not ovulating. And then you turn 26 and you want to have a child, but those underlying issues that had you to have painful periods were never addressed. So we're 11 years into you having an issue that you never fixed.
Woo! Y'all. No, you just dropped a bomb. I mean, that was so heavy. Like, you guys, like, I don't know who needs to hear this, but like, I'm telling you, this whole period of my life has transformed my mind. And it's going to have to be a continual thing. I have to continually be consistent because we've been so integrated with so many things that are not true and they're not healthy for us. And then when we're looking at, you know, where we're at in life, we're like, why is this happening in my body? Why is this happening? Like, I have carpal tunnel. And I was like, what is this? Like, why? I've never had carpal tunnel before. I never had any of these issues before. And I'm like looking at all, like, they were like, it's an effect of, you know, after you have a baby. But it's like, no one says like, you know what, hey, I see you have that. Let me actually get you to a doula that can help you with this. Let me get you to a physical therapist that can help you with this. Let me get you to a chiropractor or a masseuse that can help you with this. We don't get referrals to help us extend that care and get us access to care that is not traditional, or you don't even have the option to get traditional care. And so, you know, one of the things that I'm really pushing for in this series is that we are the people that need to be able to demand, like, you know what, I'm paying into my insurance. I want to see more of unconditional or unconventional medical treatment to be covered, because people are not getting them. And then people are having, you know, severe depression, or they're having suicidal thoughts. And there's a lot of different things that come with that. But one of the things that I didn't even realize that, but when you get a massage after or during your postpartum care, they're pushing out all of those different hormones in your body. And I didn't even know this. So like, I'm getting souped up here, y'all. I'm gonna get real excited. So I didn't even realize that when you do get a C-section, your body pushes out certain hormones, and there's certain hormones that are released from your baby when the baby goes through your canal. So when you don't have those hormones released, they stay in your body, and they can set up infection. They can set up all kinds of things that will hinder you from truly healing after you have a baby. And so when you're talking about all this stuff, you know, I was just like, oh my word, like the layers were just fitting straight together. It's crazy. This whole series right here is amazing. And I hope you guys are getting so much from it.
I'm really glad you mentioned, I'm glad I can help, but I'm really glad that you mentioned referrals, because that happens a lot at most of my sessions. I actually, last weekend, I did a closing for a mom whose baby is 11 months. She went to do the belly binding, but I said, you know, it may not be as effective as someone who's like 3 to 5 months. So we opted for the closing. And while I'm closing, I'm feeling there's so much tension on the right side of her uterus, near her right ovary. Okay. And I'm going slower because while I'm doing the closing, I forgot to mention that part. When I'm doing the closing, I usually rub the belly with I call it dragon's breath oil. So I infuse sweet almond oil with cayenne and ginger and turmeric and other warming spices. Wow. So once I'm done and I bind the belly, that heat from the cayenne and the ginger stays in the abdominal area, again, introducing heat to the womb. Yeah. So I'm rubbing and I'm going a little slower, and I'm like, this seems off. So I'm going in like a clockwise motion. I'm going, and once I get there, it's so much tension. It's just like, this does not feel right. I don't know what it is. And I didn't want to say anything to scare her. So I go around like the 10th time and I say, okay. Said, do you feel anything? She said, I feel my ears popping every time you go over there. What? Like, that's different. She said, yeah, it's popping and my ears are really warm. Like, okay. So I continue going. I go somewhere else and then I go back to that area. And she said, now I feel this I feel like a springing sensation in my shoulder. Just every time you go over there, I feel like, you know, when you sprain your leg or you hit your leg and you feel that spring in your leg?
Yeah.
I'm feeling that spring in my shoulder every time you go in that area. So I say, okay, I'm going to stop. There's a lot of tension in this area. I asked her, do you do any massages on yourself, like on your uterus? She said, no. I said, have you ever been diagnosed with like cysts or PCOS? She said, no, but I do have fibroids on the outer side, on the right side of my uterus. And I said, okay, that's it. And I said, I asked, so that was that portion, right? And this was right before I did the pulling of her waist. So to adjust the cloth, I told her to do like a small light bridge, you know, the bridge pose, just so I can pull the cloth, right? And it was so difficult for her to do that. And I'm like, it's 11 months after birth. Usually, like, you know, the first month, it's kind of difficult to do that because your core is weak. Yeah. I'm thinking 11 months, she's really struggling to do that. So I said, that was a lot of work, right? She said, yeah, it was a lot for me to to move. And I said, you might want to consider seeing like a pelvic floor specialist, because you don't want for you to start laughing and then you pee yourself every time you laugh. She said, I'm already doing that. She said, I'm already doing that. That's happening now. And I said, see, I gave her a number and I said, we need to get you to a pelvic floor specialist right now, because if you don't get that fixed and you want to have children in the future, if your pelvic floor is not strengthened for your next pregnancy and even just for life, you're going to be very uncomfortable, not being able to wear what you want to wear, being self-conscious about you changing and peeing yourself when you laugh. Like, what kind of life is that? So I gave her a number to get some pelvic floor work done to get that strength back, because when your baby is weighing on your pelvic floor during the third trimester, that's a lot of weight. It is. And your body's not used to that type of pressure. So everyone really should see a pelvic floor specialist after having a baby, because that's part of the healing. That's part of the recovery process. And you're caring for your body for the long term. You don't want to be 36, 7, 8, like, and you can't hold your pee, or you can't laugh comfortably. Your legs are crossed. Like, that's not okay. So, you know, those are the things that I have to look for when I'm working with my clients to make sure that they're not just getting care from me, but they're getting overall wellness care. And I need to refer them to whoever they need help from, because that's a disservice for me to see, okay, there's tension there. Something is wrong. I don't want to scare you. I can't diagnose you, but we need to know what this is. Luckily, she had already been diagnosed with fibroids. But had I not said anything, how would I know? Man,
so I have fibroids, and I found out when I had my baby that there were like 3 on my right side or something like that. And I was like, so what are we going to do about them? They're like, oh, there's no plan. Just let them be. And I'm like, well, what do I need to do? Like, what do I need to know? Like, you know, I'm trying to get as much information as possible about my baby and about my body, and what do I need to do after and before. And, you know, I think that's one of the biggest things, is that we're expecting doctors and nurses to do way too much. To me, we need to share that responsibility of community help. You know what I mean? I just feel like there's too much on a doctor and a nurse. And when you put all of that stress on them, there's things that you miss. They may not be as expert in a certain area.
That's true.
Let's actually go and say, okay, let's look at different services that we can use, and we can all work together as a collective community.
And that's why postpartum doulas, you know, if they're all not doing this, they all should be. We should be helping our clients to have a provider list. On that list is your pediatrician, your pelvic floor specialist, a therapist, a psychiatrist, a chiropractor, someone who does postnatal massages. Like, you need all of those things so that when stuff happens, you know exactly who to call, because you don't want to be on Google looking for the next therapist when your wife is going nuts.
Yep.
And I say that not to embarrass anyone or to offend anyone, but that's you're really going to feel like, what do? I need to get her help right now. Yep. I'm going to go to the closest psychiatrist nearby, and that may not be what she needs.
Oh man.
So you need a list of providers, not saying that you'll need it, but just in case.
Yes.
You know exactly who to call and where to go.
Yep.
So
oh my goodness. I do not mean to cut you off, Janelle. This let me tell you, what you're talking about is exactly what they were talking about in this book. And when I had finished having my baby, I was like, I told my husband, I was like, I want us to see a therapist together. I want us to, go. I have an acupuncturist that I go to, working on those different things, because in our communities, sometimes you may not have access to that, different types of care. So it's like getting out here and really understanding that, and then also getting people trained in our community so they can bring those resources to the community. It's important. We keep talking about, women having, like I said, depression. In my area right now, we have a lot of drug use going on. Women are, having babies. They're strung out on meth. They're strung out on different drugs. And I'm like, to be able to have somebody with you afterwards and to be able to help nurture you. I mean, there could be so many things that are healing. But again, we're only looking at one type of care, which I'm not downplaying all those type of cares. But when you have a woman that has had a baby, or a person that has watched a person have a baby, and they're trying to support them and they can't figure out how to help them, that's important. Also too, I want to just say with doulas, you guys, there's a term that was used in one of the books that I was reading, and it was called the rich white woman. Like sacredness, it's a journey, meaning like doulas are not just for rich white women. They are for everyone. And so in our communities of color, we don't realize the importance of having a doula. They're like, why do you need a doula? You got your mama. You know what I mean? Like, that's good. We want mama. We want grandmama, right? But
yeah, they're needed. They have their place though.
Yes, they do. But
they have their place.
They do. And but having somebody come in and help reintroduce you to what it means to have a baby and to be cared for and to be nurtured and to heal your body, it's something that you can't even like imagine, and you can't even describe. I feel like there's so many pieces I missed in this journey, and I just want to redo all of it, because I'm like, if I would have known this, I would have not done this, and this, and this. And it's not to say if you've done this, and this, like your whole pregnancy, everything is all ruined. No, it's not. But it's kind of like
education is key.
That's it. Education is key. And so, when we're thinking about these conversations we're having through this series, I want you to think about the stereotypes, the biases that we put in our mind, and be able to really release those and be able to say, you know what? It's okay for me wanting to be nurtured and healed and cared for. It's okay for me to say, this is my body. I want it to be healthy and I want it to be nourished. And I want to have a different experience. Everyone deserves care and love. And a friend of mine called me out. She said, the reason why you didn't really look for a postpartum doula is because you didn't want anybody to care for you. She was like, you don't think you deserve it, kind of. I was like, what are you don't be calling me out like that. And so, but honestly, we have to look at ourselves and look at how we receive compassion, how we are open to compassion, self-love, all of these different pieces that really are the core of who we are. And sometimes those invisible things we don't want anybody to see, they really come out during our labor and our postpartum stage. And I truly was awakened to that, and I'm still being awakened to a lot of that. And so
two things I want to add to what you just said: the mama part and the auntie part and the grandma. I've been in situations where, new mom is very close to her mom and grandmom and the other women in her life, but they're not used to the level of care that I provide. And they think they know best, because I've had kids before. I've had like 5 kids, and this is what I did with you. And most of my clients are like, I don't want to do it this time. I don't want to do what you did.
Yeah.
And I actually don't even agree with that, but I'm not sure how to tell you. So they're then forced to leave mom out of certain things because they become judgmental.
Wow.
Because the parents don't see the importance of how her daughter needs this right now. This is what she needs in this moment. It's not about what you had done and what worked for you and what you think is best. She's having her own experience. Back to us, allowing people to experience life. A lot of parents don't allow us to have our own experience of life, and then they project and they tell us what we should be doing or what worked for them. But you know, I've had parents, you know, clients from the Caribbean or from Africa, and they're like, you know, my mom, you know, she wants me to do this and that, but I don't want to do that. I don't see the importance of doing this, or she doesn't understand like why I'm doing the closing. Or one of the moms was at the closing recently, and she said, "What are you doing? What is that?" What just interrupted the whole vibe because it's quiet, like light music is playing. She's zoned out. She fell asleep, and her mom just came down. She's like, "What are you doing? What is that?" And I'm like, okay, do I respond now? Do I respond? Does she respond? You know, it was very aggressive, and, you know, it wasn't very welcoming. And she said, "Mom, I'll tell you in a second." And it just changed her whole mood. I can tell.
Yeah. Bringing in that negative energy.
Yeah. And she said, "Do you mind just explaining to my mom what we're doing?" And I told her, she's like, "Oh, okay." And then she just sat there like staring at me do it. And I said, do you want me to explain further or so, you know, back to the mom thing, we have to be real and honest with ourselves as women and be ready to leave certain things out or restrict certain information from people who may not agree with what we're doing. Whether that means you want to have a natural birth and your mom's like, "Why would you do that? Go to the doctor, blah, blah, blah." And they're giving you their unsolicited opinions that you don't need right now because it's not going to help. You may need to wait until you have the baby before you tell your mom, because otherwise she'll be texting your husband, your boyfriend, your partner, whoever, asking for all the details when it's like, this is not helping. I need this person to be present for me right now. So we really need to be real and know who we're dealing with. You know, we love our moms and aunts and grandmas, but at certain points, like in your life and your experience, you need to know what to restrict for your own peace of mind and your own experience.
Absolutely. Oh man, yo, we're hitting some deep stuff. I don't know who needs to hear this, like I keep saying, but please send them this podcast. Just go ahead and post it on your page and say, "This, I need you to listen to this," because
it's true.
It's true. And I think that's what's so hard is like, you know, when you have people that you love and respect and they're like, "What the heck are you doing?" I remember when I first found out I was pregnant, I was like, "I'm having a home birth. I started work on the house. We had tore our whole house up. We restructured it. And I was like, okay, I want home birth. We need to make sure we get a pool. We need to get this and get that. And then my baby has a thing called CPAP. So I was considered high risk. She was high risk. So they were like, "We don't recommend it. So you need to be consistently and completely monitored. And we don't really know what, you know, the end result's going to be when she comes out." And so I was like, fine. I was like, I'll have her at the hospital, but I'm not having a C-section. And so I'm like, I put my birth plan together. I was like, don't ask me about Pitocin. Don't ask me about this. I'm not getting a C-section. And
Did you mentally prepare for the what if?
Nope. I was so focused on manifestation. I was like, you know, I'm gonna manifest this thing. I'm gonna see myself having this baby. I'm gonna see myself going through these tools. I'm gonna use all my movements. And literally, when that did not happen, I was in complete shock.
Shut down. Yeah.
So when you were talking about mourning your birth, I literally was mourning my birth because I felt like that was the only thing I had control of. I did IUI, which I used, you know, it's basically a uterine, in vitro uterine insemination. And so I was like, I felt like I had no control over that. I had been, you know, during my pregnancy, I had to be monitored and I had to do certain things. I had no control over that. And then I got to this birth where I was like, this is my sacred space. I've got the music. I've got diffusers. I got lights.
You have all the things.
I got all the things, you know, and they were like, we need you C-section. And I was so done. And so I didn't even know what to say. And for those that listen to my other podcasts prior, you guys know that I used like laughing gas. So I didn't realize how that was going to affect me, which made me super high. So I just refused everything. I was like, you got to be strong. But they were like, look, we need you to come on. So ended up doing the C-section. When I was done, all the hormones had came down. I was just so disappointed in myself because I was like, why couldn't your body do this? Why couldn't you do this?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, you guys got up, you moved around, you're doing all this stuff, you're in the tub, you're doing, you just have this idea what things are going to look like. And then you try to express what you're feeling. And then you have people around you that are like, girl, the baby's healthy, you healthy, stop tripping, you're good. And you shove those feelings down. And my doula was the one that was like, no, it is okay.
Let's talk about it.
About it. And let's go through this process. And I will tell you, when she gave me permission to go there, I think that was such a release for my body. And it was healing in a way because I had to accept it, And so, for those that are listening through this podcast and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have did this, this, and this, and this, there's probably 1,000 things going through your mind. And Janelle, you have schooled us on so many things. I'm telling you.
I'm just sharing what other people have shared with me and my experience working with other people. And just one last thing I wanted to add to what you just said, when your friend said, you didn't get a postpartum doula because you don't want the help. I think that idea of we need to do away with the whole strong Black woman thing. Yes. And that's not the move. Like, you don't have to do that. What you have to do is support yourself and be supportive of others, because what you get what you give. Yes. You don't have to be that strong tower, because that's not how we're made. We're not made to do that. We're made to be a community, whether that's with your intimate family or with other women. Like, you're not made to do that. So you're going to suffer in the end. And you're only going to realize that when you're suffering or when it's too late. You don't have to be that strong Black woman. You don't have to do that. Oh. That's not the move. Like, that's not, that shouldn't be a goal for any of us. Why are we holding on to that? We don't have to live that way. You don't have to do that.
No, man, y'all, if y'all are not watching the video, my face, y'all, I'm just all over.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah, it's moving.
You need to we have to submit. We have to learn how to submit. We have to submit to our feelings. And the only way we can do that is it starts in our heads. When you have those thoughts and those feelings, don't shove it out. When you have triggers and you have impulses, don't just let it brush by. Think to yourself, why do I respond that way when this and that happens? Yes. This has never happened to me. Why does this trigger me? Did my mom experience something? Did, because that happens. You can inherit trauma. You can inherit impulses. For instance, I know someone who, she didn't breastfeed. Her first son, she said, I didn't like how he just felt like he owned my body. Like, he knew what he was doing. And I just shoved him off and I gave him to the nurse and said, just give him a bottle. She felt like her child was in control of her body and she hated it. So she pulled him off and gave him a bottle. And when she had her second son, she didn't even try. She put him right on the bottle. And she never had a bad experience, but she's older and her parents are from the Carolinas, and they're not too far from slavery and her ascendants. So I don't know if her mom was a wet nurse, her grandmom was. I don't know that story, but it's very likely because of that impulse that she had, that reaction that she had to that. How would you didn't experience anything for it to react this way? You know what I mean? And we have to think back to why things are affecting us and heal that before we move on.
Absolutely. Oh, I mean, y'all, I know this is a longer podcast, but we're getting some straight stuff. Let me tell you, no, this is good. This is some good stuff. We're not going to apologize for good conversation. Let me tell you, when my husband and I went through this journey, I was so intentional about him being a part of every single thing because of slavery, because of the history of my family, were men not being present and being there during the birth, in which a lot of men during that time were not allowed to be part of the birth, or, you know, their child was sold off to slavery. So there was a disconnect for the fathers. And so, you know, during this sacred piece of, you know, having a child and going through these stages, you know, and not even being able to get attached to the baby while they're in their womb, because you know this baby is going to be sold, or this baby is walking into a world of sorrow and suffering. You know, it just brings all these triggers. And so for me, I was just like, you know what? We are going to do this together. And he was so on board and just so connected with it. And it was very, very important. And it was very sacred, I felt like, to break that cycle of our ancestry, you know, that really held us down and held us back. And I think all the time about the things that we're going through as a community, and thinking about, you know, why are we going through this? Why do we have all these issues? Why do we have all this? And we don't want to deal with the trauma. We don't want to deal with the healing. And in another series of the same podcast, we've been talking a lot about peer supports. It is one thing to have counseling. It is a whole nother thing to come from a community where support has been in the structure and the bones of what we do as a culture. And it is the one thing that has been fractured, and people continue to say it again and again and again. They'll move up the ladder. They don't feel any support. They feel like they're below. They don't have any support. They're in the middle where, depending on where they're at in their life, they don't feel that support. We have an opportunity to say, we need to bring support to our community in a very unique and different way, and take back that separation, that gap, and address it, and be able to say, let's actually build support systems within our communities to help build healing and make things happen. And when you were talking about this, it just really, like I said, for me, reading this book and then just this conversation today has been so eye-opening, because it's reminding me of how much work I had to do in myself, and being able to nurture my daughter and help her find the key to her freedom and her success in life, and not be defined by the things that have always defined many people, women, people of color, from the past. So I'm just y'all.
Yeah, I'm trying to do my part as well. I am actually almost finished creating a belly binding course for moms and doulas. So the moms will have lessons on how to self-bind if they're far and there's no one around them who does belly binding, because of course you want someone to do it for you because you're healing. Yeah. But if you're alone and you're in a place where, you don't have someone to do it, I'm making a course for moms to be able to learn how to do it themselves. They have one-on-one coaching with me virtually to get the technique. Because even some dads have reached out to me and they said, hey, I see the belly binding thing. How can you teach me to bind my wife, whatever? Yeah. So I have that for the parents, and I also have one for doulas to become certified to do it. So they can serve more communities, because a lot of people are contacting me from like Florida, are very far places, and I'm just like, I wish I could come, but I can't. So I'm making that available for more people. I also just recently received the blessing from my Moroccan mentor to teach the closing and the Hamam and everything else. So next year that will be rolling out, so more and more doulas can supply that service for other families, because it's very hard to find someone who does those things. Yes, but it's so beneficial, and most people have never heard of any of that. Like, what? You actually come to my house to do these things? Yes, you're not gonna go anywhere. You need to be comfortable. You need to be nourished. You need to be nurtured. Like, I'm gonna come to you and do all of the things, and what you're responsible for is sitting down, eating, and resting. That's it.
I love it. I love this so much, y'all. Janelle, where do people find you? Where can they follow you? Because I already know people are going to be like, I need all the help.
So my Instagram, where I have lots of videos and reviews from my clients and their experiences, it's Foi La Femme. It's a French name because I'm from a French Caribbean island. It means faith in the woman. So Foi in La Femme, it's spelled FOI.
Love it.
.EN .LA .FEMME. So it's Foi La Femme. My Facebook page is also Foi La Femme. My website is www.foinlafemme.com. And the courses will be available on my website soon. Registration will be soon. That will be announced on Instagram and Facebook. So anyone who is interested in learning how to do the Bangkok belly binding method, and learning how that compares to stuff like the belly bandit and stuff like that, and waist trainers, I'll go into all of those details and talk about how the traditional methods help to incorporate the postpartum healing of the abdomen, your back, your pelvic floor area, your hips. So I really go into detail about how it works and the proper technique so you don't hurt yourself doing it. So look out for that. And then next year I'll be rolling out the traditional postpartum training for doulas in the area.
Oh my gosh, y'all. Listen,
we have to schedule a closing or something because
I need it. I'm like, so I moved here from New Jersey. I'm about to like get on a plane, go on and drive down. My cousin lives in Philly. Let
me know whenever you're in town. Let me know. We'll set up the closing and we'll do a closing and a womb steam. Anyone can always do. I've had clients who've had their babies 10 years ago cried at a closing because she wanted to have a natural birth and she got a C-section and she just wouldn't let it go. And I said, no, this is the time where you do that. This is it. And when we were done, she's crying. She's like, I can't believe like all this time this has been haunting me, and she never let it go. And everyone needs a closing. People who've lost family members get closings too. I get clients who say, I just lost my mom and I just need to, just help to get closure from that. People who have had loss and just traumatic experiences really benefit from the closing as well. So it's for really anyone.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Well, this cannot be our last time we do a thing.
Oh, absolutely not.
You guys, I want to thank you so much for listening. I hope you felt welcomed. I hope you feel embraced. I hope you feel healed by this conversation, you guys. We have so much more coming. So please continue to listen. Please share. Don't worry if you're driving. All the information is going to be below here on this podcast series. Please share, you guys. And until next time, thanks so much for being here at the Learning Project. And we'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.